Except where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying? Cecil.
This is why I train in martial arts. I'm calling this one Violence Experience Part 3, and it's also a partial review of this book I just finished reading, What You Don't Know Can Kill You, by Mark McYoung and Jenna Meek. Right. First about the book. This book is excellent. It's a great tool for martial artists and for people who want to do a concealed carry, firearm. Things that you need to think about with use of force and, how much force to use and the legal ramifications thereof, and how you should try to tailor your training so that what you do doesn't get you in jail. Now, if you can't get it from your instructor, you need to seek out sources like this book. And those of us who are instructors, we're going to have to figure out a way to digest this information and impart it to our students in a way that won't get us in trouble or looking bad, and also in a way that they can digest it. So, again, the name of the book is What You Don't Know Can Kill You, by Mark McYoung and Jenna Meek. But the subject of this video, in terms of violence experience, it was something I didn't really think about until I read the last part of this book, and that's police officers, and how police officers actually have more violence experience than those of us who are law-abiding martial artists. So since they have more violence experience, that means they are going to perceive something that you do that you may not realize is overboard because you've been going about it and you've learned the way to do it, to do a response to a particular attack because of tradition, etc., etc. Like I said in Violence Experience Part 2, because they have more violence experience, they're going to know if what you're doing is overboard, and they probably are going to be right, even if you didn't mean for it to be that way. Sorry, Charlie, in their eyes and in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of the people who will be judging you, what you did was unnecessary. So that's why you're going to have to do like I'm doing and go outside of your classroom training, because ultimately it's up to you, not to your instructor. You have to go outside, read some different books, talk to different people, and find out exactly what amount of force is appropriate and what amount of force is not. And there's something else too that I thought was interesting that they talk about in the part about dealing with cops. They acknowledge that there are bad cops, but you are supposed to do what the police tell you to do, whether you really like it or not, regardless of how you feel. The law doesn't really care about your feels or your feelings. You're going to have to behave in a expected way, and you can come back and sue and fight it later. I mean, that doesn't mean that you just let people murder you or let people abuse you, but you know what I'm saying. If it's something that you can let go, just let it go for now and come back and sue later. Another thing that's useful, especially from this book when they're talking about cops and violence experience, that's the term I'm giving it, is that they may know how to ask questions that can make you look bad. And if you're not aware of what those type of questions are, you may end up saying something because you're hyped off adrenaline and the excitement of the moment that you run your mouth and you end up making yourself look worse. One thing they'd said in the book, spoiler alert, is the cop may ask, did you hit him or did you hit her or something to that effect. And if you can't explain exactly why you hit that person, that may be something that can be used against you later. There's also some things about how some people may perceive that just because you're a martial artist, you're itching to use your training. I don't think that's really applied to me personally since I was a teenager, because the older you get, you really don't want to get in a fight. You don't want to use your training. You eventually, at least I do, I train to avoid situations. You learn to use your awareness. I mean, after I got hit a few times, I realized, this pain just isn't worth it. Waking up in the morning, you can't chew because somebody you fought punched you in the face. It's just not worth it. I literally had to learn the hard way when I was a child, but when I became an adult, I put aside childish ways. So that's what you're going to have to do. You need to think about what you're saying and how it's going to be perceived by the uninitiated. And the time to do that is now. You have to do it ahead of time so that you will act appropriately when you're under pressure. Because if you wait and try to come up with it under pressure, you're probably not going to be thinking straight because you're going to be under the influence of drugs. That is the drugs that your body's giving off, the adrenaline that's not making you see things as they actually are. So, in closing, cops have more violence experience than we do. So they may not believe you when you say, I really had to kick that person in the throat because he was coming after me. Because maybe the last 20 people who they had to arrest for kicking someone in the throat kicked someone in the throat because they owed that person money for drugs. So you got a drug user dealer fighting against a drug supplier, so it's crook on crook. And then you're standing up here saying, my kick to the throat is different against those 20 other kicks to the throats that you don't even know about. I'm just making this up here. They may be thinking, oh, it's another kick to the throat. Let's see how this guy tries to explain. Let's see how this person is trying to get out of kicking someone in the throat. That type of thing. So since they have more violence experience, what you need to do is not think that you know more than them about violence, but what you're going to have to be able to do is lawfully explain how and why you did what you did. But see, the thing is, I believe if you are practicing the tenets, especially the tenets of Taekwondo, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit, all the tenets, not just the indomitable spirit part, the courtesy will help you avoid violence. The integrity, you live a life of integrity, you will avoid violence. The self-control, when somebody comes after you, you will respond with the appropriate amount of force because you have self-control. Perseverance, when you're being interviewed, you can stay calm enough and persevere without letting your pride get you in trouble. They talk about that in the book too. They don't use the word pride, but that's basically what it is. Because when I was reading some of the stuff, I was thinking about that Pulp Fiction scene where he says it's pride effing with you. F pride.
That's pride. Pride only hurts. It never helps. You fight through that shit.
So, and indomitable spirit, well, you already had the indomitable spirit to be able to protect yourself. So, again, going back to the book, read this book. But remember, cops have more violence experience than you. So, if there's any takeaways I think we can get as martial artists right off the bat, is don't do things in a way where you make them think that you're just like all the other violent people that they had to deal with. And I'm going to give you a personal anecdote. I'm going to close. I remember it was one, I don't even remember the name of the cop. He was somebody, I think I lived on his beat, and I just would see him every once in a while. Sometimes he talks to me, and I asked him about martial arts. Has he ever had to arrest a martial artist? And you know what he said? He said, man, believe it or not, most martial artists just give up. It's rare. I only had like a couple of calls where, I had to call somebody in on a dude, and he said he was doing some kind of monkey style. But usually, he said that was unusual. Usually, man, martial artists just give up. I mean, I really usually don't have any problems out of them, even though they know they could do something. So that told me, yeah, you got these fancy skills and tricks and things like that you can do to people. And if they know that you are like that, they may be prone to call backup. If they think that you're one of the martial artists that is going to hurt them, they may call backup on you. And if they do, don't get mad. It's because they got violence experience. Because this is something I started telling people too, when like I had to call like fire people or, the ambulance for when I was helping to take care of family members who were ill. It's don't judge them necessarily if they come there because you don't know what they've just seen. They could have just been on something similar. They could have just seen someone die. You don't know what they're going through, what they've been through. So cut them some slack and just try to conduct yourself in a way that helps people get them help that they need. And if in terms of you of having to have defended yourself, conduct yourself in a way so you don't look like you're the problem. So thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people like to talk about the martial arts. Get this book that I'm not being paid to endorse, but it's called What You Don't Know Can Kill You. And it's by Mark McYoung and Jenna Meek. In peace.